Obi, JD Walker, and Mr. Brandon K. Fair warning before we get into the Zingo TV stuff. We're going to have a plethora of rants tonight. I cannot guarantee how clean this is going to be because we have two in-pain Mets fans and two very, very angry Tom Brady haters, and we are covering both topics tonight. Fair warning, it's going to get interesting, but let's just let you know ahead of time. But anyway, Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward. The Sports Den is part of the Spanglish World Network, Zingo TV, channel 249 and 250. You can also get it on the Zingo TV app that I just mentioned. Anyway, gentlemen, how you doing? You know what? Let me start this off. JD, how are you doing?
Get inside from almost 30 years of being a Mets fan, so this is not unexpected for me.
I wanted to start this off with somebody who will be a little bit more calm, rational, as opposed to somebody who will be in unbridled, unmitigated pain. And first and foremost, I probably should have put the right thing up there. There we go. Brandon is wearing his Jets outfit, basically Jets proud. They did have a good win yesterday. They beat Miami, at home, pull up 40 points against Miami. But unfortunately, that does little to sully the pain that he has right now. As an ardent, blessed Mets, fan, met Mike Piazza a few weeks ago. And I think Mr. Met down below pretty much says it all. In all seriousness, sir, how you doing?
Today was a day that I did not expect to come. I have to say that on this show, I was the faithfully upbeat Mets supporter from the very beginning. And I sit here today a humbled man, as I do have to give JD credit and say that he was right. So...
But basically, I don't think JD wants to be right here.
No. It's just a matter of fact. And look. In the grand scheme of things, it was a good season. Mm-hmm. But it's just, I'm not even mad. I'm just like the typical parent line. I'm just flat out disappointed, man. Like last night, the game 3 specifically. One hit.
Yeah.
One lousy single opposite field to Pete. And I said Vanilla Ice had the same amount of hits. Right, said Fred. I mean, they all had the same amount of hits as the Mets. And it's just I said this to you in our chat. I don't even think I felt this bad after the World Series loss. Or even the next year, the shutout, the Giants shutout in 2016, the wild card game. That it's just because of the investment of hype that I have put into that team since basically winter meetings.
Mm-hmm.
I said this to my girlfriend today, Charlie. I'm hanging up the Mets stuff like for good for the calendar year. Not of just like mad at just like just disappointment. Like I have to wait a calendar year till I can get back into it.
But here's the question that I got for you in this case.
Yeah.
You've got all this time. Do you have faith and do you have hope again? Will you have faith and hope again?
I do, and I know we're really in the we're still in the honeymoon phase of this real depression of what I call baseball depression. I do have faith that they can kind of balance, rebalance the team. They do need a lot of work, right? There are clearly a lot of flaws that this team has, both pitching wise and offensively in particular. You got to throw another 2 bats in the lineup. You got to go get another starting pitcher. You got to go get some middle relief bullpen help. There are things that they have to do, but I do believe that if they keep this core and this band of brothers together, I think they can come back next year and give this another ride.
All right, let me ask you, Obi. You've been quiet on this one right now, and I
will be a little more on the JD. Very, very cautious side of things.
Yeah.
If things seem to, somewhat look good going into next year and throughout the season. But I'm not going to be as, I don't know, like not starstruck, but just so like
Other Met
blinded
fans
by love.
on the
Those,
panel.
it's just, yeah, it hurts, man. It really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
You go
on
ahead.
the
Go ahead.
panel
Yeah. Let Obi go.
as throw to me.
Or not. Okay.
Okay. JD, how about you?
All right.
You know,
So
right.
it's a
I'm surprised,
maybe.
right? We're not surprised. We thought it would be because the Mets met on the bright side. 101 wins. Alonso had a wonderful season, and then the brothers together. Cross your fingers. That's what this is. It's for Cubs fans because waiting in your lifetime for it to happen. But I believe another 10, 15 years will probably have enough teasing. Not in Shea Stadium, World Series against the Mets for me. So they're 2-3 game series that matter at the end. The best pitchers didn't get it lined up for them. Cool, and probably not make the playoffs. Anything that resembles 6 years, we'll be here talking again, remembering the Mets are in the playoffs again.
Yeah, you're cutting out a little bit on that one. JD, you've been a skeptical Mets fan. You've been that one. You've been that one person that's been in too many bad relationships when it comes to Met Nation and everything like that.
Oh yeah.
In this case, to be fair, I was hyped on Met Nation. Brandon was hyped on Met Nation. I'm not even really that much of a Mets fan, but I had believed that they were going to do so much better than they were. You were always
I'm an idiot.
No, you had hope, and there's nothing wrong with hope. I mean, granted, in Avatar: The Last Airbender, they say hope is an illusion, but in your case, it's been so long since you had something to get excited about. It's similar to, in some ways, Giants and Jets Nation. But JD, you have always been the one that has been very stoic about this and very skeptical with a very prove it to me attitude. You were right. It sucks. You were right. But
yeah, I hate being right, but
yeah.
That's a few decades of watching this team. This is what happens when you're a Mets and Jets fan. When they need to run away with a division or a playoff spot, because anytime it goes into the last weekend of the season, this applies to both the Mets and the Jets, but for the Mets specifically here, anytime it goes into, oh, don't worry, they control their own destiny. All they have to do is X, and then they never do X.
They get to M or N. Yeah. Well, see, that's the problem. You get the pressure of expectation on there. They are so much better as the team that nobody expects to succeed. And when they start to, the pressure caves. This reminds me of, what was it, 2007? This reminds me of previous years where they have it in the bag and then they can't close it out because they have the pressure on them to close it out.
I wouldn't go as far as 2007. I admit that I think I said back in August, I said that I had a 2006 vibe with this team. It was a good mix of homegrown players and high-priced free agents that were brought in, including future Hall of Fame pitcher was brought on as a mercenary, essentially, to try and bring the Mets over the top. This year was Max Scherzer playing the role of Tom Glavine from 06 and from those years, and they had a good regular season, but also just around late August, early September, just something felt off. And I started having that sinking feeling as a Mets fan. Like everything was set up for them perfectly, and they just didn't do it. 18-13 in the month of September against the easiest schedule in baseball. Before we even touched the Atlanta series last weekend, How about not losing 5 out of 6 to the Cubs and the Nationals? Getting swept by the flippin' Cubs at home.
Good job restraining yourself there, by the way.
Yeah, and just this, if they'd won any one of those games, then the Atlanta series wouldn't have mattered. Then they would have had this locked up. Just any time that it is set up where, oh, the Mets just need to do this one thing, they don't do it, and they come up short. Only the Mets could make 101 wins, second most in franchise history, feel hollow.
Disappointing.
And then, we were talking in our chat earlier about, where does this rank as far as Mets collapses or whatever? And the takes that I heard a lot over the past few weeks was, oh, the Mets didn't collapse. The Braves were just better. Giving up a 10.5 game lead is a collapse. Losing 5 out of 6 to the Cubs and the Nationals is a collapse. Having two of the best pitchers in baseball and going 10-12 or 10-11 down the stretch when Scherzer and DeGrom pitched is a collapse. Having that high-priced future Hall of Famer blow up in the worst possible spot and essentially blow the season for the team, like Scherzer did in Game 1, just like Tom Glavine did in the last regular season game of 2007, completing that collapse.
Now,
whether there's a collapse or choke or whatever term you want to use that the Mets have had over the years, where do you want to go? How about 1985? It's very similar to this series where they had a late September series against the Cardinals that they came up short, and the Cardinals won the division with 101 wins, I believe, and the Mets won 98 games and didn't make the playoffs in the pre-wild card days where you had to win the division. How about 1998, where they lost 8 of 9 games down the stretch to blow a playoff spot? How about 2006, Beltran looking, Kenny Rogers walking in the winning run in the 99 and yes, it goes on.
What was happening in the locker room in that moment when Kenny Rogers walked ball 4 there?
What was that?
And what was happening in the locker room basically when Kenny Rogers threw ball 4? Do you remember?
I believe it was Bobby Bonilla and Ricky Henderson playing poker.
Yes, that is correct. You are correct,
which because of that led to the infamous Bobby Bonilla annuity after that.
Yeah.
Now, in fairness, just for that one particular thing, that actually did work out in the long run, even though it is a punchline, because the money they saved from that, they signed Mike Hampton and they got the compensatory draft pick, which they used to pick David Wright. So that was one thing that is overplayed about the Mets. But
and with inflation, basically the $1 million costs less every year when you think about it.
Especially now.
Right.
100% true. Now, here's the question.
But the 85 team, the 88 team, those collapses were before my time watching as a Mets fan. So I don't have any of the joy from 86. With the Mets, it's all just grainy footage of Tom Seaver and Keith Hernandez and Darryl Strawberry. The closest
That's black and white TV back there.
Yeah, the closest I get is 2 pennants, with the Subway Series and the 2015 year. And the 2015 year, like you said, that run, because it came out of nowhere, was more fun. But I'm just numb to it. It took me until August before I even started to let myself think, okay, they're for real. There was a stat I read recently where it was something like, for the past 2 seasons, all but like 20 days, the Mets were in first place. Like the Mets have had the most time in first place as far as calendar days during the season over the past 2 years, and don't have a division title to show for either one. At least they made the playoffs here. But now with this best of 3 crapshoot, which I want to see this format changed because I want 2 divisions. I'm tired of these garbage Central Division teams coasting. The Cardinals doesn't deserve to be there. The Mets are and the Mets are done. The Phillies advanced by beating a joke Cardinals team that fattened up on beating up the Reds and the Pirates and a bunch of teams that aren't even trying all season. And then and the Yankees haven't even started their playoff collapse yet, although they'll probably finish that. The midges are back in Cleveland, as we saw in the Browns game yesterday. So have fun with that. I can't wait to hear Yankee fans complaining about the bugs for why the team stinks. If it wasn't for Judge, that team would be 500. This is what it is. I'm channeling my inner Joe Beningo and this happens. This is the territory that comes with it. All of Uncle Steve's billions don't change the fact that they're still the same old Mets.
Yeah, and I guess
well,
go ahead. I got nothing right now. I'm trying to find something.
It's like we could do this about the whole schedule, about the Cubs series, and they shouldn't have lost to the Padres earlier or the Mariners. And we could do this all day about the whole schedule. They went into that Atlanta series with a 1-game lead, and I've been on you with trying to find the right word, whether it's collapse or choke or crash or whatever it is. When I just on definition, in baseball, when I hear collapse, I think of something over an extended period of time, like something that really kind of drawn out and really took a while to kind of build up. We could say with the Braves, yes, with all their winning and with the Mets certain struggling, like I said, they were able to keep up to a point where they went into that series with a 1-game lead. And had you even lost this in one of the games, you still could have gone out of that series with a 1-game lead and still taken care of business against the Nationals and the Marlins. And then you're still controlling your own destiny. So I don't want to say they collapsed, but they choked. That Atlanta series was a choke.
But
it was choking in a big spot. When the spot didn't matter, when it mattered, they didn't come through. I will say that even going into this, it's just like, okay, how are the Mets going to blow this? My money was on Edwin Diaz blowing up because I've seen so many closers implode for the Mets over the years. I've had Armando Benitez vibes about him. Good regular season, but who knows what happens in the playoffs? To his credit, he shut the Padres down Saturday night. So kudos to Diaz doing what he was supposed to do, but 1 hit, as you said. All they needed was 1 win in Atlanta, and they got 0.
Well, see, also additionally, don't forget, they lost to the Padres. All 3 were at home under this format. So it's not like the old days we used to travel back and forth. They were all in Queens for all 3 and still got crushed. So that was the problem there. Now, my question for you guys, looking at it right now, Nolan Arenado is a free agent at the end of the season. Trey Turner's a free agent. Aaron Judge, we know about that, but I don't think it's a great idea.
I don't want any part of Judge. That's going to be a Pujols contract.
I don't blame you on that one. But, I mean, I'm looking at some of the younger ones here. Nolan Arenado's 31 right now. Trey Turner's 29. Will Myers is 31 and change. Joey Gallo. Miguel Sano from Minnesota is available too. Dansby Swanson. These are all guys 30-ish and younger. What does, as you mentioned, Uncle Stevie do this offseason?
If he's really Uncle Stevie, get Judge and you don't care because you have the money and you want to win like good old George used to be, or you pass on Judge. So if you want to win baseball games, you sign a contract that's going to be an albatross later because, hey, inflation, maybe he won't be the highest paid player when that contract's around your neck and you just absorb it and ask him to retire like Anaheim did 2 seasons too late with Pujols. Or, there's really nothing else to talk about. It's like, go get him. Do what that's piece number 1. Right now, He's piece number one, and that's after you don't get him because somebody outbids you. Then you can talk about pieces 2 through 15.
Yeah,
Turner is intriguing to me since he's only 29, but then you get a logjam at third base.
Yeah, Turner makes $21 million this year. The thing in market value,
which then makes more sense to sign Nolan Arenado.
Arenado got $35 million this year, and they're expecting 28 and change for him on the market.
Because middle infielders don't age well.
Yeah,
and he's already 31,
and
most of his stats are inflated garbage from Colorado anyway. So his career number. So I don't put any stock in his career numbers.
Too. You know, but you don't know. Maybe Uncle Steve, like you said, will do it. I don't know. But yeah, how old is Arenado? Yeah, I was gonna say 31. The text just came, or the message just came in. Yeah, Arenado right now is 31.4 years old as of today. So don't know what his day it is, but that's close enough.
Yeah, and the pitching is a bigger concern for me than the bats. DeGrom's going to opt out. I mean, he's going to get paid crazy money.
Do they get Syndergaard again?
Yeah, only if he's coming on the cheap. Also, I think that Syndergaard burned a lot of bridges, so I don't think there's a way for him to come back.
And Josh Donaldson went to the Yankees and pissed on Garrett Cole before he got there.
Carlos Rodon in San Francisco. He's young.
I would take him. But DeGrom is re-signing. DeGrom is going to opt out. They should make efforts to re-sign him, but also, let's face it, health is a factor for me with these big contracts. That's why I don't want Judge, despite all the hype. Although the stick it to the Yankees part, if Cohen does want to channel his inner Steinbrenner, I respect that. Just to see how crazy Yankee fans go. So
now,
although but just what are you going to get out of Scherzer next year? Scherzer and DeGrom both missed huge chunks of the season. DeGrom, since he won his 2 Cy Youngs, he doesn't make it through a season healthy anymore. Scherzer missed big chunks of the season. So what do you get from them next year? If you do bring DeGrom back, I'd imagine he's going to command about $30 million per.
Yeah, but with that money, don't you owe it to go into a season having them both healthy and seeing what season long, how they can sustain in a whole season and then hopefully into a playoff run again.
Keep in mind, he's not.
Scherzer's going to be 39 and DeGrom is 34.
And Bassett and also Diaz are both free agents next year. They're free agents now.
But did they show signs of age or just those injuries that they had?
Well, when you're injured every year, that is age.
Rule number 1, arms slow down when you get older. And the 3-year deal for Scherzer was a good move, but it was an all-in right now this year. That team was built to win this year. And that's where the problem is with that squad. It was, at the end of the day, a very disappointing end. And to lose the way you did at home, in a 3-game set, wild card or bye, forget that for a sec. The team traveled 3,000 miles across country and beat you 2 out of 3. And frankly, embarrassed you on a national stage for game 3. And that's painful. I told you guys in the chat yesterday, my wife wasn't even watching the game. She's like, I can't emotionally handle it, because she would have handled it, Brandon, the exact same way you would.
I didn't watch it either. Yeah, I was writing my union article and I listened to parts of it on the
I'm a glutton for punishment. I can't not watch.
Dude, I predicted the Mets were going to win that game, though. I look like an idiot myself. So.
Yeah, and as K7 Sniper brings up, can DeGrom transition from being a fireballer to a control pitcher? I think he can. It's just health is a big concern. And if and it's one thing when you're re-signing your own player versus paying somebody for accomplishments that they did with other teams. I would like to bring back Bassett as well. But I believe even Uncle Steve has a limit. He's said that he's gone on record as saying, $300 million, you should be able to put a pretty good team together. So I don't think he's going to go, not really a salary cap, if you will, but I don't think he's going to go much beyond that. He's not going to go into Dodgers 350.
Yeah, but he never
400
did
million
that. He never
territory.
did that coming off a playoff loss. He did that off of regular seasons, just not making the.
Yeah.
Now that there was some taste of any type of quote unquote success, I think he might be inclined to push that number, maybe even to 400. I mean, look, what have the Braves done? They literally have their whole team for out of the rest of this decade. So do you want to try and do something every year to try and compete, or just have something that you know can be successful? You just have to tweak a little bit, add some new pieces, do some readjustments, and go into it again. I don't, as just some competitive nature, I don't like this just 1 year, we were, and then we'll try something else.
Blow it up, try again. Yeah.
Aaron, like it's right there. It's there.
I'm absolutely not saying to blow it up, but the fact of how many free agents they have, it's just not feasible to bring back all of them. And how do you decide who to bring back and who not to? And it's not like this is, and they can run it back to an extent. It's just a matter of finding the right mix. And also the Mets have to keep paying free agents because their farm system is still in the process of being rebuilt, since for years the Wilpons dumped prospects. So that's why they haven't really done much at the trade deadline the past 2 years, is because they didn't want to.
They don't have anything to deal with it. Yeah.
Well, or like they have their top prospects, but like the second tier prospects were gutted. So because for years the Wilpons would deal 3 prospects, mid-level prospects, for 1 player because they didn't want to pay extra money.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to take a few years to build the farm system back up, and with how the AA and below, with how the Mets are doing. So there is promise there. It's just still a few years away.
It's going to take
so
time.
If the Mets can keep doing that, Cohen has said multiple times he wants to be Dodgers East, because that's what the Dodgers did with, where they built up homegrown players. They would find players off the trap. The Wilpons are massive cheapskates who used the Mets to fill an investment portfolio. Yeah, and they were also some of the only ones to actually profit from Bernie Madoff. Yeah,
but yeah,
they're gone. They can take their money and go. So we have this. So because of that, and because we don't have that ownership anymore, there is a little more hope. And I do think that the Mets can retool. I don't think they're going to go. So we'll see if they're a World Series caliber team again. But I think that they absolutely can maintain their playoff. They can stay a playoff team with the right adjustments, and I think that they're capable of doing that.
Live from Ponzi Field. All right. I figure basically we can move off of this at this point. We do have something that I am intrigued to get your thoughts on first. Let me do this first. I have to get rid of Mr. Met.
Lord Voldemort, I presume.
What's that?
Lord Voldemort, I presume.
We are going on to what I'm calling roughing the celebrity passer. I've been Jones for this one right now because of the fact that the 2 guys on that side over there are, shall we say, they are not the biggest fans of Mr. Tom Brady. So I'm pulling up the video just so you guys have it, courtesy of Fox Sports in this particular case. No, we will not get banned for this. I've already verified that. We just can't monetize the video, but whatever. I'm not going to worry about that. Anyway, we are going to basically put this video right up here. Give me a second. Let's back this guy up a little bit. We will put you right in the spotlight, Mr. Video. And here we go. So, 21-15 Tampa. And sacked by Mr. Grady Jarrett. Great sack right there. Looks great. But wait a minute. What's this? Personal foul. Roughing the passer on Grady Jarrett.
I was out. I was out all day. And I come home, getting ready to watch my Eagles. So I put on Fox. And I see the score. I see a play. I see the sack. I go, oh, wow, Lanton might have a chance. And then I see the flag. So my first thought was, oh, holding. Bad team, stupid defensive penalty. And then the actual roughing the passer comes on.
Yep.
And I turned off the game. And I turned off football for the day. There is no explanation that is good. That is tackle football. That is not a whipping around. People sometimes get hurt, and I'm sorry what happened to Tua, and maybe that could have happened to Brady here, but that is literally a tackle. There is nothing else a player can do. And I'm like, and it's hard for me to think anything other than they really don't want Tampa to be bad. They really want to be able to talk Tom Brady. They really want to monetize this guy. I had to turn off football. I went and I watched, thank goodness it was on, Rutgers female soccer. Thank goodness it was on. Got to watch it. Got to calm down as the Scarlet Knights won and then put the Eagle. But I was done. I was like, I didn't check to see if the other game was on CBS. What is that? That's a tackle. And if that is close to something they're trying to legislate out, we're done. We've gotten to the point where this game is too violent for us as a society to be an enjoyable sport, and we have to move on, and that's okay. Now, I enjoyed the women's soccer game, and I know we got guys here who cover men's soccer, and let's go there. Let's play some soccer because this is a tackle. This is what I expect kids out in the backyard to be doing. Tom Brady better be able to survive it. If he's too old, too bad. Like, come on, it's football. I want to curse, but I just want to save our editor some work, so. I'm going to pass it to Brandon.
Brandon, go.
That legitimately, I'll take postseason out. That really inarguably might be the most atrocious call I have ever seen in my life. And I want to give you a quote by the great Jerome Boger. What he had to say describing this play. This is a quote from his mouth to our ears and our eyes if you're reading it. What I had was the defender, Mr. Jarrett there, grabbed the quarterback while he was still in the pocket and unnecessarily throwing him to the ground. That is what I was making the decision based on.
It was too violent a tackle? Is that what he's saying?
No, he said it was just a tackle. He literally said it was a tackle.
That is his job, Jerome, to hit and throw the quarterback. He did not go low. He did not lean with the helmet, right? He didn't grab a face mask. He didn't land on him with his full body. Nothing. That was one of the cleanest, most textbook sacks you will ever see. And we got to be throw the flag because pretty boy Tom. You see him just first down. Tom Brady, you got to be ashamed of yourself. You really do to sit there and be like, oh, where's my flag? Where's my?
He does it all the time.
That was a clean butt sack.
Brady landed on Jarrett, not Jarrett on Brady. Brady landed on Jarrett.
And don't forget,
nicely.
When you watch the video, you see Tom Brady's right leg go up. It looked like he tried to kick Jarrett.
Yeah, that was what I thought too. It looked like
he does that. Man, I did. Tom Brady, go home, bro.
He doesn't have a home.
He doesn't have much of a home to go back to with his wife about to leave him.
All right, so then ask Jeter where one of the other mansions are and rent that one. Out of here.
I don't know. Can he crash with Gronk now? Gronk's retired. He might have the time and the space.
Please.
One of those two guys do not get along off the field.
Even.
They only get along on the field and in the locker room.
One of the things here is the fact that Jerome Boger is fast becoming the Angel Hernandez of the NFL, where he's just terrible. As a case, we've said for years that if you know an official's name, it's usually because they stink. Yeah. And now that a few of the more notoriously bad NFL refs, in past years, the Jeff Triplets of the world, they've retired, and Boger is going into those roles. This isn't his first questionable roughing the passer call. There was another one in a game that he did last week, the week before. I don't remember which one off the top of my head, but there have been a few head scratching roughing the passer calls just from Boger, this same ref this season. And there was some and other questionable calls in general last year. So this is just a bad ref. Add to it the fact that you have Voldemort Pretty Boy, that the only reason he's still playing in the league at 45 is because for 2 decades now, you can't breathe near him without it drawing a roughing the passer
he's gonna
penalty.
have to start paying alimony now, so he's going to,
No, he's not.
Giselle's got a higher net worth than he does.
Yeah,
no, she might be paying him.
Well, I don't know. See how this plays out. But that's not. That's not the point. That's not the point.
I know Cam Newton is not on anybody's favorite player list on this panel, but come on, Cam Newton used to complain forever about things that he wouldn't get called on, and then you see this on the other side. It's this was crazy. Like when I saw it, like really, I was so shocked that because I couldn't conceive how that could possibly be a rough. Like I was convinced it was a holding on the defense.
Yeah,
there was nothing.
And it's also around the midsection too. It's not like it's anywhere in a dirty spot. I mean,
that was a textbook.
That's what I said. No, nothing with the knees, nothing with the helmet.
No
face,
helmet
nothing.
to helmet, nothing like that.
Nothing. Horse collar, nothing.
No, he came in. He did like Brandon. He did his job, and not fun. It wasn't fun. Like when it happened on
that is his sole purpose on the field, Jerome.
It wasn't like watching it. It didn't feel violent. That was the thing. It didn't like go like there are some hits you see that aren't roughing. That you're like
was a twirly merry-go-round. Fall to the ground.
I would be happy to be tackled that way. Like I would be like, I could play football if that's how they tackled every time. That was was not. Wasn't a decleater. Wasn't leading with the head. Didn't hit the knees. Didn't even twist his ankles. He pulled the guy down on himself. Oh, like I said, I had to turn it off and watch soccer. Thank goodness.
They should have thrown a flag for Brady
got the win.
Baby.
Come with us to the other football, Obi. It's way more fun to watch.
Yes. So
I was moved yesterday.
I'm not going to go that far.
If only for a half. I was like,
flat out. Yeah. It was a big hug and fall.
Yeah, it was a big hug and fall.
It was a twirling merry-go-round of a tackle. It wasn't a smack or really nothing. I'm baffled, mind blown, befuddled.
In the history, Tom Brady's been playing for 50 years. I'm telling you, this is one of the 5 lightest tackles he's ever suffered. I mean, like
he wishes he was tackled like that every time.
Right.
Rugby's underrated. I got to tell you that. Rugby is actually a really cool sport. Doesn't get the love here in the States, though.
Rugby sevens, Kevin. Kyle.
I meant what the rest of the world calls football.
Yes.
I knew what you meant. What you meant.
Come over to the dark side. We have coffee.
We have guys who get tackled for real. I mean, even if it is a slide tackle.
I mean, we could talk in this case here, basically, if it makes him happy. Wrong one. I mean, on the other hand, your Jets won.
Yes, they did.
There, I'm trying to give you something a little more positive.
Normally, it takes them a month to score 40 points.
I know,
and it usually takes them all year to win 3 games.
Hey, the New York, New Jersey teams have 6 wins between them?
7 and 3.
7 wins.
Hey,
and the Eagles are 5-0.
Yeah, you want to throw your birds in there? We're all of us. Look at us.
Yeah, football.
Yeah, look at us. We're all in a good spot.
The Eagles are 5-0. The Giants are 4-1.
We're all playoff teams today.
Yeah. The Jets are 3-2, and it's fun in this area again because it's been abject misery for like 10 years between all 3 teams. You get that occasional somebody gets into the playoffs, something actually happens here and there. But it's never had this level of enthusiasm, I think, between the 3 teams. And
you mean aside from the Eagles Super Bowl?
And probably ever. But even then, that was 2004? The one a few years ago. But again, the Jets and the Giants sucked. So it's not like there was any real excitement on that part. But you have 3 teams that are 80 miles apart from each other that are doing really well right now. I mean, they're 12-3 combined. And that says a lot about them. I mean, the Eagles went in to Arizona and won. The Giants went to a very, very anti-New York Giants London yesterday. My God, that was so unbelievably Packer Nation. It was insane. And pulled out a win that shocked a lot of people, except for those of us in Giant Nation. And, of course, the Jets just throttled the hell out of Miami. I mean, you want to say something about maybe Tua being out, and Tyreek maybe being a little injured here and there, fine. You rolled 40 points and you give up 17. Anytime you do that against any roster, it's a good win.
No,
so
nobody did that for us when Zach was out or whenever Sam Darnold was out or any major player was out and a team tranced us. It was, look at the Jets. So no, you know what? Look at the Dolphins.
So the Dolphins have proven that they're even more incompetent than the Jets are, from a management standpoint, which that's impressive.
Two doctors have entered the chat.
Right. If Tua can find the chat anymore after that, I hope he's okay.
I do too.
Healthy. Football aside, I just hope he has a good life. And he should take his money and go, in my opinion. But anyway, and also get the Jets defense making a statement to Tyreek Hill, who said recently that one of the reasons he didn't sign with the Jets was because of New Jersey state taxes.
Right.
Seriously.
Well, we did that about Florida. I mean, Florida has no state taxes. I mean, LeBron.
Yeah, he actually said the other way. Florida has no taxes. He implied.
Yeah, it's those state taxes, man.
Yeah. We don't get the respect, but anyway. But yeah, I mean, the Jets right now 3-2, second place, I believe, overall. Tiebreaker there. Who's the last place team in the AFC East right now? Brandon, any thoughts on that?
The Bills. No, they're 4-1. They're good. The Dolphins. I mean, Jets.
No, but the Jets.
Am I missing one?
Yeah, I think you are. Can you think about who that other team is currently in last place right now?
No, I can't.
As a Jet fan, now that Voldemort has moved on, how many seasons is it going to take for you to no longer think of New England as your rival? Like that, assuming that they're already.
Nah. Maybe not. All right, no.
Not with Darth Hoodie still there.
I would get what just because he's in the league still.
No, I'm saying that as long as Darth Hoodie, Belichick is the Patriots coach, it won't be until after that, and they would need sustained misery. Like they would need like pre-1995 Patriots misery again, because that's the other thing that is often forgotten about this is that the Patriots were just as garbage as the Jets for most of their existence until Parcells cleaned them up in the mid-90s.
Yeah,
but Belichick has a losing record with non-Tom Brady quarterbacks.
Yes, he does.
And didn't I say weeks ago? It's like, when are we going to start really looking at Belichick? It's like, all right, like, do you know what you're doing still?
Ever? I mean, that's the thing.
He's
there's no way to dissect the Brady Belichick era, with the percentages and stuff. Like you just got to look at black and white with Tom Brady without, and that's how you do it.
I mean, the question to me will always be offensively, does he have it, or was it Tom Brady? Defensively, Belichick has proved himself, even with Tom Brady.
Fair,
but can he coach offense, or did he get lucky? We're kind of deciding that now.
Well, considering that their offensive coordinators are I believe it's a two-headed monster, and monster it is of Matt Patricia and Joe Judge.
The same guys.
Joe Judge.
Yeah, you want to talk about keeping it in the family. Like every one of Belichick's assistant that face plants as an NFL head coach, and they all do, by the way. They end up back with some other shit. It's like a jobs program for all of his assistant coaches. And the rate things are going in Vegas, Josh McDaniels might be going back there soon too.
Wasn't Matt Rule part of that entourage? Matt Rule just got fired today.
No, he was from college.
No, he was from college. He was in college. He was at Baylor.
No, he did work with the Giants. I think he was he worked with Coughlin with the Giants.
John Coughlin. Okay.
So sort of multi-generational Parcells tree. Parcells Belichick tree.
Okay. But yeah, I don't know. I think in this case, I would still give Belichick another year, see what happens in this case. But right now,
I mean,
yeah,
they are 2-3.
Patriots are last place over there.
Oh, and
They're also down to their third string quarterback due to injuries.
Yeah.
Bailey Zappi.
Who
That's
won last
the
week?
movement, Zappy. Like these.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't
But
know.
2 and 3 right there. Woo.
Speaking of Matt Rule, look, hey, Sam Darnold's going to have another head coach.
Yeah.
I continue to feel bad. It's not his fault. I will
It's
die on that hill.
Starting quarterback PJ Walker,
Dude,
who will be starting
who
for
are
the
they-
Panthers
wait,
because
who's
now
gonna be
both
interim
Baker
head
and
coach?
Donald are out with high ankle sprains.
So who's going to be the interim?
XFL had continued, he would have been the MVP because that was the only undefeated team. The Roughnecks were the only undefeated team in the XFL until basically COVID killed everything. If there was going to be anybody from the XFL was going to make it to the NFL, it was going to be that team. So respect, cover that. I give him props. I like that
Okay.
kid.
We'll see where that leads for him. He wouldn't be the first third string quarterback to be something.
Exactly. So I think Doug Flutie has entered the chat. All right. So I figured
Eagles Jeff Garcia has shown up.
yeah. So all right. So basically in this case, I figure we'll move over to the topic that I know the two of you guys are really going to want to talk about. The thing about, the thing with that round black and white ball that you kick and you can't use your hands for it.
Hey, I told you I'm jumping on board this thing.
Dude, you know what? It's it honestly deserves more love than it gets. Sorry about that. And yes, Flutie with the drop kick on his last game. And that was one of those things I just
As a
want to point out.
Patriot.
As a Patriot. But you know who enjoyed it a lot? Belichick smiled. If you watch the video, Belichick has a smile on his face when it happened. He has not had a smile on his face since.
So I know we're moving to soccer, and I just want to say somebody today who I know at least one of our folks, specifically JD, is very familiar, posted a post about Philadelphia sports, the Dragon one.
Yes.
And so we're going to get to that. So, I'm telling you, I'm ready. I'm coming on board with this soccer football, as they call it. But I'll let you guys carry the show for a little bit, as you justly should.
I'll let you start first as I start pulling up some stuff here.
So we had the Union clinch first in the East with a 4-0 win over Toronto yesterday. Daniel Gazdag second hat trick of the season, and he finishes the season second in the league in goals scored with 22, just behind 23 with Kati in Nashville. So they get the first round bye. It's 7 seeds in each conference, similar to the NFL. Only the top seed gets a bye. So they'll be playing the winner of the Red Bulls against Cincinnati in the 4-5 game this weekend. And your NYCFC are playing a home playoff game also at Red Bull Arena.
Home playoff game against your division rival stadium in a different state? Sure. Home match. Why not?
Yeah, they're playing against Miami.
Inter Miami, yes.
Yeah, they're playing against Inter Miami. And the 2-7 matchup is Montreal and Orlando.
Yes.
Only team, from a Union standpoint, the only team in the Eastern Conference that scares me is Cincinnati. They've played the Union tough in both games. They beat them, I think, 3-1 out in Cincinnati back in August, and they played a 1-1 draw in Philly before Philly exploded with goals later in the season. So the Union set all kinds of franchise and league records. They had a plus 46 goal differential, 72 scored to 26 allowed. Fifth most scored in league history, second fewest allowed in league history in a 34-game MLS schedule, and second best goal differential.
Yeah. And you have a goaltender that set the mark with 15 shutouts this season.
Yeah. Andre Blake led the league.
The entire season, by the way. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, led the league in shutouts, and Coach Kurt himself even said it, where the real season starts now. We will remember this season, and the fans will remember the season, but the league doesn't. And history doesn't remember you until you make your playoff run. That's
Go
where
ahead.
it starts now.
Here's what I'm going to say. I watched the NYCFC game yesterday because I had to do the press conference remotely. They were playing in Atlanta. But what was interesting about it is next season, because the season and the contract is going to Apple TV, and you might see this on your side of the fence too, with basically the broadcast down there. But Joe Tollison and Ian Joy, who have been the play-by-play guys for the team since it started, made it sound very clear in their conversation that was the last game they were going to do, because they went out of their way to thank a lot of people, some of whom aren't even with the team anymore. And they were just like, we don't know what's going to happen right now. And from what I'm hearing that Apple TV is going to be doing is they're going to have their broadcasters broadcast remotely out of a place in Florida. So all the games will be done that way. And you will lose your local Gary, Keith, and Ron for it.
The union also honored GP Del Camera, who's been their main TV play-by-play announcer since the beginning, 13 seasons since the union started playing in 2010. So they had a similar kind of like gold watch type send-off for him. The chatter I heard was that they don't know what's going on yet. Apple has
we were there talking to Joe that one day, Joe Tollison.
Yeah.
And we talked, and he went off for like a half an hour about what he thinks is going to happen. And,
well, through the discussion I heard, because I had heard similarly about the monitors, I heard that they actually are not going to do that, at least for the first season.
Okay.
That they're going to have on-site announcers, I guess, to see how it goes. Also, partly because they need to build the facility, for any kind of monitors. But calling soccer games remotely is a huge mistake, because soccer, more than any other sport, is something that you need to be in the stadium to really feel the energy of the crowd. And if you're calling it from a monitor off-site, you're not feeling that.
Especially in Philadelphia, man, or Atlanta for that matter.
Yeah, in Philly, Atlanta, Seattle, Portland, and
any place but basically Yankee Stadium.
Yeah. So, but you lose that energy with remote calls. I mean, from what it sounds like, no official decisions have been made, or at least the people have not been informed of them yet. Signs are, pointing to that they would be going with new announcers in any event, which I really feel for those folks, like JP and Joe Tollison and those, and Steve Cangelosi with the Red Bulls.
They just quit the Devils too.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see, although I am partly looking forward to it, only because because streaming is the future, and streaming means, in a deal like this, that is a blanket deal, means no blackouts, which this is the big issue in sports media currently, is the fact that for a lot of the rights deals for these teams with the RSNs, the regional sports networks, we're even just trying to find the game is hard. That's why the Midwest teams in particular are struggling. The Bally Sports Groups, which owns the rights to about half of the teams in Major League Baseball and a good chunk of NBA and NHL teams, is particularly brutal with their carriage fee negotiations with the cable companies, and they're not on any of the streaming services because they were trying to launch their own, and it has apparently been a disaster. So this Apple TV deal, it will kind of be a template for the rest of sports media going forward,
and the future,
with the other sports, and especially to see if I wouldn't be surprised to see Apple jump on the NFL Sunday Ticket when that comes out.
Dude, you got Thursday night on Amazon Prime, which, by the way, can I state for the record, I really hate that.
Are you
really
surprised?
I'm not surprised in the least, no, but go ahead.
I get the Thursday games from top to bottom, but Prime has nothing to do with it. Although Al Michaels being there does give legitimacy to it.
One has nothing to do with the other. It's just that they were both, especially in that Thursday, both of them were crap.
I mean, in general,
forgetting that, I just don't like the fact that it's actually on like a multi-trillion-dollar streaming service.
You see, I'm more of the I don't like Thursday Night Football. If we didn't do them, I wouldn't watch them. So that the fact they're on Prime is irrelevant. I got a little app, check in every 15, 20 minutes, and that's it. So I haven't checked it out yet, and I have Prime. So yeah, don't care. But soccer, on the other hand, on Apple, I mean, that's different because, first of all, is soccer like a situation like football where every game is at Wednesday at 3 or something like that? Or
Mostly.
They will be doing that as part of the Apple TV deal,
Yes,
where games will be Wednesdays and Saturdays.
Yes.
Okay.
All the way through. So they are trying to do that, and they are building. Apple TV will be building something similar to Red Zone, where they're going to bounce between all the games going on at the same time, try and show highlights straight through. I am excited to see how that's going to work. I want to see how that turns out.
Now, one problem that exists with this that hasn't been resolved yet is the Apple TV app is not available on Android. And as it turns out, apparently Hispanic owners, by like a 2-to-1 margin, have Android over iPhones.
Yeah, that was an interesting statistic that I read in that same article that you saw. And
was that the one you sent me?
Yeah, I think it was.
So you sent it to me. I sound intelligent by saying it, but really I'm just plagiarizing something you just gave me. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anyway,
right, but regardless of who got the article from where, I do think that the Android issues will resolve themselves because also I think that it'll be a separate app, not the original Apple TV app, possibly. So they might make that app more widely available. Who knows with any of these services? It sounds like Apple is still in the process of figuring it out. And less than 5 months before the start of next season, they might want to get on that.
Yeah, but
the other thing with the Apple TV is, they can sell the other brick, and not the phone brick, but the Apple TV brick to all those customers. And I don't know what percentage has those versus a phone. And now they got phones in the house and not phones in the house.
As Brandon has stated from watching Apple TV baseball games, they spend a lot of time talking about Ted Lasso, Severance, all the things that are on Apple TV. Hello Tomorrow, Brightside, whatever they're calling it. So you will have all of the fine Apple TV television products prominently displayed during the entire MLS season.
How's that different from any other broadcast and seeing nonstop ads for CBS's terrible sitcoms? During all of the NFL games. I will say every network does that.
Yeah, but
which is considering that sports are the only thing that anybody watches live anymore. That's smart business.
Yeah.
Plus Apple TV, it was just so minimal, and like you could tell that they didn't have the passion for it, that it was a cash grab. So these, I mean, that's what it is. Like the passion isn't there, like the care.
I would love to post that comment. I can't. So if you guys can read it, but I would probably get in trouble for posting that one. But actually, I'm going to save that line though. Sorry. Anyway, go ahead. Oops, sorry. Hit the wrong button.
No, that was it. It's just a cash grab. There's no passion with those news streaming. Getting into it is fine, but like do it well, like care about it, like put thought into it, and it's just not the case.
$25 million a year does not even count as money to Apple TV. It's just they make like $360 billion a year, literally. There, okay. Thank you.
Same with Amazon and Prime.
Thank you, Bob. Put it that way. Call them S-coms, and the S is a synonym for poop. So I will use that line though. But thank you for rewording that. But yeah, I mean, I think for the league, it's a good thing. For Apple, they're going to clearly try and do this to just dominate a worldwide audience with this because it's their global takeover bit by bit. So eventually, when they get the naming rights to the planet Earth, so we have, Mercury, Venus, Apple, Mars, this is all part of the master plan they've got over the course of the next 10 years. But
regardless of what happens with climate change, the world will end when the Autobots from Apple fight Elon Musk's robots fighting Disney's robots. We're all
you call Disney the GoBots, really? GoBots. What was the line from Clerks 2? Like the GoBots are the Kmart of Transformers.
Yeah, Kmart Transformers, I believe, was what they called.
To me, the series ended at Clerks 2. I'm not going to go into Clerks 3 though. And
Have you seen Clerks 3?
Yes, I don't want to spoil it for nobody, but I like the movie. Series ended to me with number 2. But anyway, I think in this case, Philadelphia's got a great shot of being able to run with this thing. They don't have the literal 23-day layoff that New England had last year, and came into that first match against NYCFC very sluggish. I think the shorter break will do them well, and I think honestly they can make a very serious run. I think NYCFC's kind of turned things around a little bit. They figured out how to adapt to not having their best scorer because he went east, and also their head coach go east in the middle of the same season and a few weeks apart. At this point, they've won 4 straight, so they actually kind of righted the proverbial ship. But it'll be interesting because it wouldn't surprise me if those two teams go head-to-head in the finals again.
It will. I am looking forward to that if it does get to that. We have the. I'm intrigued by the Red Bull. I'm focusing on the Red Bull Cincinnati game. Red Bulls have actually been a better team on the road than at home this season, and Cincinnati is a scrappy team. They're also they are the Union, but a few years ago. Mm-hmm. Pat Noonan actually was Jim Curtin's assistant with the Union before becoming the head coach out in Cincinnati when they started. So they play a similar style. So I'm hoping that the Red Bulls can take care of business there. For NYCFC, I think Inter Miami has been so inconsistent this year that. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure which team is going to show up.
Well, Miami's 1-5 against NYCFC this in their career, and give up 13 goals in that run. So,
and NYCFC would need to then go to likely go to Montreal the following week, and Montreal has been playing fantastic down the stretch as well.
Massive turnaround for that, but I figure basically we can maybe start wrapping this up a little bit. I will be covering NYCFC next Monday, so we're gonna have to we'll figure something out between us on this, how that's going to work and everything like that. But I got to cover the team; they're a good group. During the press conference, yesterday, as soon as Nick saw that I was on, he got a smile on his face. I feel flattered. But I want to give you guys a final shot. Obi, any final words for you, sir?
I just want to take a moment to go back to my Eagles, who, like I did say, I watched at the end.
Fly.
There's not a lot being said about this, but last week when Harbaugh did not go for the field goal, he got slaughtered at the end of the game. Sirianni did go for the field goal for the Eagles. He got the result he wanted, but boy, that game should have gone to overtime. A young rookie kicker missed a makeable kick, and the Eagles could have been in overtime. These guys, 4th and short, touchdowns at the end of the games are things that should be done. And the Eagles were lucky to get out with a win. So I'm happy they did go to 5-0, but the games are getting closer and closer as this season is progressing for them.
Teams are starting to wrap.
Yeah, and a rejuvenated Dallas Cowboy defense is coming now with possibly Dak back. So it's going to be a crazy week on Philadelphia Sports Radio. So if you're in the area, you might even get a few beeps.
I'm gonna go out
and the Phillies Dodgers too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out on a limb.
Or Phillies Braves rather.
The Cowboys will fall back to earth when Dak comes back. Because the way that they operate as an offense with Cooper Rush is they're going a lot more run heavy and focusing more on the defense that manages that team. This is the same style that they had when Dak was actually just a rookie. Now that Dak makes the money that he has, he's going to command that offense in a different way. And I think they're going to fall to earth a little bit more because they're going to rely on him more than they used to.
The Russell Wilson effect.
Yeah, I think it could be. I think that could literally happen here.
This is really up to coaching, right? This is truly a coaching thing. Can the coaches tell the defense, I don't care that we now think we're going to score 40. We still hold the other team to 20. Mm-hmm. And if they can do that, that's all about coaching and mentality for that defense. Then the Cowboys won't necessarily fall to earth. I don't know if that coach over there can do that. I actually don't think so. I think you're probably right. I think now they start losing games 40-35.
It could
as
be.
opposed to not as opposed to winning 40-20.
Cooper Rush threw 16 passes yesterday.
It's like that Mac Jones against Buffalo in the win.
Yeah, you play smart. Oh God, that game was awesome. He threw like 3 passes the entire game. I was so happy. Brandon, any final thoughts on anything you got?
I got 2 things. Back to the Cowboys point.
2.
Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard. That's been a big discussion these last few years. Got a bit of a hot take. Not only is Tony Pollard a better running back for the Cowboys offense, I think he's a better running back overall.
Ooh.
My fantasy team says that's a lie.
I don't
because Pollard has been disappointing for me until this when I benched him.
I fantasy and look, my team's up in shambles. I'm hitting the
You
bricks.
won last week, you son of a bitch.
Half my team is hurt, and I'm like the only person that hasn't scored 100
You won
points.
because of Deebo Samuel. Thank you. And beat me, by the way.
Blame Jalen Ramsey on that. And a second thing, Jets Packers this weekend. Are the Jets the better team?
Where are they playing?
Possibly in
Green Bay.
Coming off a road, back from a trip London. I don't know.
Here's the thing I'm going to say.
Interesting game.
Green Bay is a 2-half team. They are remarkably different from the first half to the second half.
I don't know if the Packers are a better team than the Jets at this moment in time.
I think they're even right now. I think the Packers are overrated.
I think a lot of people right now are looking at the Packers as being a very, like I said, average team right now because you saw it yesterday. They were a tale of 2 halves. They were up 20 to 10 at halftime, and then scored 2 points in the second half, and that's only because the Giants gave them the safety to burn time.
Limited on offense, inconsistent on defense.
Yeah.
Decent on special teams. I don't know. I might smell a 4-2 coming.
It's possible. I don't think people will be surprised. I think again it'll be more shock at the Packers losing than it would be for the Jets winning. But you will get some chirps if the Jets can pull this off to say, you know what, how legit is this team?
Again, I am withholding excitement until later in the season.
Until January, quite literally. After week 17, then you'll make a decision if you're interested or not. So,
yeah.
All right, gentlemen,
I'm
we good?
on a bit of a fool me once, fool me twice thing. I'm just going to roll with the Jets blindly until I crash and burn.
Dude, they're a better team
we do.
regardless.
So, that's fine.
Yeah.
They have to be.
Yeah.
Guardians over Yankees in 4.
Oh, wait, that's another thing. Mets fans, are we all in agreement that Mariners are our team that we're rooting for? I think that's.
I think everyone who doesn't have a team in the playoffs is paying attention after that Mariners comeback is rooting for the Mariners.
Mariners all the way.
Well,
I don't know, not really, but just my ride. Mariners all the way. I don't know if they're going to win. So we'll see
what happens. This Mariners Houston series is going to be highly entertaining and probably the most entertaining out of these division round series coming up.
I say Houston in 4 on that. I say Yankees in 5. That's my take. That's my take.
I think that the Yankees' suckitude and pure reliance on Aaron Judge is overblown, and I don't think they're going to lose to the Guardians. I think that they had a slump in the middle of the season, but it wasn't all Aaron Judge that got up to the end, even if it looked that way.
So what are you guys predicting in this case then?
I'll go Braves and Dodgers both in 4, and then I will go Yankees in 5 also, and then I don't know. I'm probably going to go 4 or 5 games with Houston or Seattle. I don't know.
One of those teams will win.
You know what? I'll go Mariners in 5.
All right. And by the way, that is actually Kyle's prediction right there.
That's a real stat line. That's not fake.
That is. All right. And I'm sorry, Obi, what did you say?
I'm going to take Braves and the Dodgers as well, pretty succinctly for both of them. 4 or 5. And then I'm going to take the Yankees. And I'm going to go with my heart and take the Mariners.
Okay.
But
Go with the feel good.
yeah, going with the field goal because we're not putting money on it, and maybe we can forget what I said by
All
next
right.
week.
So in this case, I guess I may as well just finish the rest of them out.
Braves in 5, Dodgers sweep, Astros in 5.
Astros in 5. What did you say about the Dodgers?
Sweep.
Okay. In 3. All right. Houston in 4, I said. Dodgers in 4, I think. And yeah, Braves in 4 too, I think. So 4-4-4 and a Yankee 5. So
You know what? I'm gonna take that down to the Dodgers with a sweep.
All right.
Yeah.
So Dodgers will sweep.
They got their pitchers lined up. I think it's going to be tremendously hard for any of the teams that were in the wild card to win in this round. I think that this is like the old NFL playoffs. So that home team having, in that case, having the rest and being the better team. Now you have the rest and the better team. Your pitchers are lined the way you want. Your relievers have all the arms they want. I just think it's going to be real tough. So I'm for any of the, for any upset there.
All right. So I've got all you guys in this case here. I've got all 4 for all 4. We'll see what happens in this. But all right, gents. I think we're good at this point. It's already about a little. Yeah, we've been going for a little while at this point.
Yeah, we ran this train a long time.
Yeah.
Yep.
But thanks those for tuning in. I appreciate it. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you to all the guys who've been watching. I know I've been seeing the numbers on here. I'm happy with the numbers. Getting better as we go along. Lastly, Zingo TV, one more time. Available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward, and available all over the globe. So anyway, for myself, I'm Scott, Mr. Brandon K, Mr. Obi Spencer, and of course, Mr. JD Walker. Have a great night. Take care. Stay groovy.